I want you to please welcome the directors of Restless Creature, Adam Schlesinger and Linda Saffire. The DP, Don Lenzer. Great name for a DP. How awesome is that? Yeah. Bob Eisenhardt. Philip Sheppard. Diana DiMenna. And Wendy Whelan. When I started watching this movie, I was wondering, was it a difficult conversation to, between you, Wendy, and the filmmakers, Adam and Linda, to figure out, A, that you were going to go ahead and make this movie, and B, to cover so much ground during such a particular moment in your life?
Well, I think it took a little time. I think we didn't really know each other. Diana introduced us, and we said, can we come and film a rehearsal? I think that's how it happened. And then said, can we go back to your house and talk to you? And she said, sure. And so it started that way. And I think, little by little, we became more and more comfortable, right?
Yeah, they really helped me trust them pretty early on. I love the footage that Don took. I knew I was in safe hands with Diana, and the more I spent time with Adam and Linda, just I could read their eyes, and I could tell they cared so much.
Were you into the idea of them going with you when you were getting the surgery? Because that's an extremely personal.
I wasn't into any of it at first.
Okay.
I'd have to be perfectly honest, because I was in complete turmoil. I had no idea which end was up. So they just became like a backpack, and I just would load them on, and they just went everywhere with me. And the surgery for me wasn't a problem. And I just love that part of the film because I don't remember it.
There you go.
So yeah.
That's what they call an ed memoir. I'm just going to say personally, one of my favorite moments that I've seen in a film this year is your remark about what you would say to your fellow dancer in order to get a flow going. That's one of the great. No, really, I thought it was awesome. Seriously.
Actually, Dr. Philippon is here. Thank you for letting
Dr.
us come.
Philippon, thank you for everything.
Why don't we just go right into some questions from the audience? Sure, yes.
I'm just curious, as you, after your surgery, you contemplated dancing again, and you rehabilitated. How much of it do you think is physical, and how much do you think is mental in terms of the...
This is a question about Wendy's surgery and her rehabilitation, and to what degree was her recovery physical, and to what degree was it mental? Probably 50-50.
I'd say 50-50, really. And with my doctor and my physical therapist, Michelle, they had so much confidence in me because they knew that I had such a positive attitude, and they kept remarking on that. And they said that positive attitude is going to really, really take you far. So that gave me that extra muscle behind the unknown, I think.
Well, that was my next question, was your positive attitude a little bit of bullshit?
Oh, my positive attitude was absolute naivete.
Was your positive attitude a little bit of bullshit for the movie? Oh, how about that?
No, that was no bullshit. That's just me. That's who I am. And I had my sights set on what I wanted it to become and what I wanted it to end up like, and I didn't think otherwise, even though everybody else knew, well, it could really easily end up not that way, Wendy. So I wasn't going to hear it. Obviously, I didn't listen to people when they said you're not ready for that yet. So yeah, no bullshit. Sorry. So, yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's Dan's turn. No, there's no mic.
If your friend is in turmoil, why would you suggest shooting film at that moment?
I know.
If your friend is in turmoil, why would you suggest shooting a film at that moment?
Because I did so with the caveat that if at any point she felt uncomfortable, didn't want to do this anymore, and even to the end pulled the plug, I said, we will have made you a very beautiful, very expensive home movie. And so that she felt a little safer then, I think. But the whole thing was an exercise in trust. You know, when you see Wendy able to trust her partners in dance so completely that you see her make those like crazy falls into someone's arms or, you know, from a height above someone's head, and you think, well, how does somebody trust another person that much? It's kind of remarkable. And I think that the grace in this project was the degree to which Wendy transferred that trust to all of us, because she really had to let us in to a place that dancers don't, right? Because it's supposed to be perfect, and the audience sees the perfection, and so to let yourself be seen to be vulnerable and to be imperfect, I think was really a great act of trust. So we all note that and appreciate that tremendously.
Yeah, no, some New York City Ballet people at one point were like, well, this is really courageous that you're doing this. You know, to end on something so unknown and to end on possibly something so vulnerable and not my best. And I just thought, you know what? It's real, it's human, and we don't see it. And I'm gonna go there, so I did.
About in dancing in this bitter earth, yeah.
Yeah. Chris Wheeldon made This Bitter Earth for me a few years ago, a number of years ago now. And I remember him when he shared the song with me. And I wasn't feeling at my best at the time he made it. And I was a little concerned because I thought, wow, this is a sad song, you know, about this woman in her life, in that point in her life, and we're going to magnify that on me when I'm not at my best. And again, I just kind of, I went with it. And at the beginning, I didn't fully trust the piece, but I grew into it, and it grew in me. And I'm ultimately extremely proud of what we did together. But again, it wasn't, I was, you know, uncomfortable and very, very vulnerable when he made that. So maybe that's in it.
I wanted to ask the filmmakers about working out the logistics of filming the dances, and whether you had any stories to tell and what those were, you know, how that was worked out.
Very carefully.
Yeah. 3 unions, the Trust of City Ballet as well, and also Peter Martin's. And it was just one step at a time. And, you know, of course they can see the footage that we're going to show. We're not here to sensationalize anything. We just want to show your company, show your life. And they let us in, and we were so lucky.
I actually, with regard to Bitter Earth, you know, Wendy was at a pretty vulnerable time, moment of time for you at that time, and weren't sure we were going to be able to film Bitter Earth, because I think you were feeling, a little, it was tough. Fortunately, we convinced you to let us in, and we were able to film that. But and then, of course, Don capturing you in the dressing room, for me, when you put your head in your hands after you've done that performance, was just the fact that Don caught that and filmed that. We were blown away.
That was actually the first shot we showed our editor, Bob Eisenhardt, to say, look, look, this is what you have right now.
Well,
When did the process of making this film begin? And
I had the same surgery that Wendy needed. And I think when it became clear that she needed the surgery, she was talking to a lot of people who had not come through the surgery terribly successfully. And she and I had a conversation in which I said, no, you're going to be fine. You're going to be great. I had it. It's okay. You will be better after, so I was, I think, able to give you a little bit more encouragement and a little more hope. And so as we started to talk more about that and bond more over the surgery, and I understood what the stakes were for her, I just said, somebody should be documenting this. Somebody should be filming this. This is really incredible. And I had never made a film, and Wendy had never been the subject of a film, but Adam Schlesinger is a good friend of mine through the New York City Ballet, through our children. So I called Adam and I said, hey, you want to make this movie about Wendy Whelan? And he said, does she want to do it? And I said, I don't know. And in 2 days, we were on a plane going to Colorado, filming the surgery. It happened in 48 hours. We just went. So that it was very quick, and it just was either capture it now or forget it. Because if we didn't have that beginning, then the story didn't pan out, and it didn't make sense. So Wendy likes to pretend that we had a long time to get used to the idea, but basically she was in a hospital gown on camera in front of total strangers within 48 hours of this idea. So.
and then this man was in scrubs right next to me on my.
We got close fast.
Yes, it did.
It's rare that we have, when we're talking about a film, composer and the editor present, and that's a very particular part of the filmmaking process. It's the structural part, how it all fits together. So maybe you guys could offer just a few comments about how you put this film up on screen.
Well, I think that it was necessary. The strange thing about this film, it's a dance film where the dancer can't dance at the moment. So it's kind of strange to suddenly find yourself, strange and surprising, that suddenly find yourself in an operating room. And so I think you had to kind of go with that, because that was the story. The struggle to dance was really the story. And if you stuck with us, you would see it succeed. You would see her back on stage again. So, but dealing with the dance film that there's no dancing for a while is a tricky proposition.
It's interesting, yeah.
And it's hard to get footage of New York City Ballet. There's so much copyright,
Yeah.
and that was very hard to obtain. So.
Yeah.
There's very little archival footage of dance. I was surprised because I've done films on classical music and opera, and there's quite a bit of footage, and there's very little footage on performance,
Yep.
ballet.
And I feel really honoured to have been brought into this. I've worked with many ballet dancers as a composer, writing for the stage. And the thing about ballet is it seems to exist in this point halfway between extreme pain and total ecstasy. And this lady kind of embodies that in the best possible sense of the word. And what was, it's very strange because I've been working on this for a long time, and I've just met you today, and I feel like I know you very well because. And you don't have a clue who I am, which is great. I'm from England, by the way. Hi. And the wonderful thing about writing for a dancer such as Wendy is that my job's really easy. all I have to do is follow her feet and then try and get inside what might be going on in her head. And if I make it any more complicated than that, I'm not doing a good job. And luckily, inside of your head's a beautiful place, and feet are pretty good too. So.
And inside the head and inside the body are virtually one and the same, no?
I think so, yeah.
We have a 6 o'clock show coming in, and there's so much more to say, and I'm sorry we have to cut it short, but thank you all really very much. And thank you.